The incubator. Alarm screamed as I watched my premature daughter's oxygen levels plummet. Through the nursery window, I could see her, the HOA president, standing in my backyard with a sledgehammer, surrounded by shattered medical equipment and severed power cables. She was smiling. What she didn't know: I'd spent 15 years taking down people who thought they were untouchable, and I was about to make her my newest case. Before I tell you how this woman's arrogance nearly killed my child and landed her in federal custody, smash that like button and subscribe. You're not gonna believe where this goes. Drop a comment telling me what you would have done in my situation. Now, let me take you back to where this nightmare started. My name's Marcus Chen, and 6 weeks ago, my wife Emma and I moved into a quiet neighborhood in Riverside Estates, just outside Phoenix, Arizona. It seemed perfect. Good schools, tree-lined streets, the whole American dream package. What we didn't advertise to the neighbors was my job. After 15 years with the FBI's white-collar crime division, I'd learned to keep a low profile. Then, we met Patricia Vandermeer, late 50s, pearl necklace that probably costs more than our car, and the kind of smile that never reached her eyes. She was the HOA president and made sure everyone knew it. First day we moved in, she handed us a 47-page HOA covenant document with certain sections highlighted in red. 3 weeks ago, Emma gave birth to our daughter, Sophie. 8 weeks premature, 1 pound 12 ounces. The NICU kept her for 2 weeks, but her lungs were still developing. When we finally brought her home, we needed a medical-grade incubator with specialized oxygen and climate control. The pediatric pulmonologist was clear. Sophie's survival depended on consistent power and precise environmental conditions. The incubator required a dedicated electrical line, which meant running a temporary external conduit from our garage to the nursery until the electrician could install the permanent indoor wiring. The equipment sat in our backyard for exactly 48 hours. That's when Patricia decided to take matters into her own hands. And what she did next would change both our lives forever. Day 3. I was in the nursery with Sophie when the power cut out. The incubator's battery backup kicked in immediately. We had maybe 90 minutes before critical failure. I ran outside and froze. Patricia stood in my backyard with 2 men I didn't recognize. Later found out they were her nephew and his buddy from the gym. They'd cut the power conduit with bolt cutters. The medical equipment lay sparking in the grass. "What the hell did you do?" I kept my voice level, but my hands were shaking. Patricia crossed her arms. "Mr. Chen, Section 14, Paragraph 3 of the HOA Covenant explicitly prohibits external electrical installations without prior board approval. You were given the rulebook. That's medical equipment for my newborn daughter. She can't breathe without it. Then, you should have filed the proper paperwork." She said it like she was discussing a parking violation. "You have until end of business tomorrow to remove all non-compliant installations, or face a $500 daily fine." The 2 guys with her smirked. One of them kicked a piece of the shattered equipment. "You just destroyed $10,000 of medical equipment," I said quietly. FBI training, kicking in. Document everything. Stay calm. Build the case. Equipment that's keeping my daughter alive. Sue me. Patricia pulled out her phone and took a picture of the damaged equipment. Better yet, try it. My husband's the best attorney in 3 counties. Now get this junk off your property. As they walked away, Patricia turned back with that smile. "Welcome to the neighborhood, Mr. Chen." She had no idea she'd just threatened a federal agent's child. But she was about to find out what happens when you cross that line. I got Sophie's backup incubator from the hospital within an hour. Thank God for good insurance and understanding doctors. But the incident gnawed at me. This wasn't just about HOA rules. Patricia had deliberately destroyed life-saving equipment and showed zero remorse. That night, I filed a police report. Officer Rodriguez took my statement, photographed the damage, looked genuinely sympathetic. "I'll file this, Mr. Chen, but I gotta be honest. HOA disputes usually go through civil court. Unless there's criminal intent. ... She knew it was medical equipment. I told her it was for my premature infant. He nodded, slowly. Still, her lawyer will argue she was enforcing HOA rules. It's gonna be your word against hers. The equipment damage was covered by insurance, but that wasn't the point. The point was, Patricia thought she could endanger a child and walk away because she had money and connections. Emma was terrified. Sophie had stopped breathing twice during that 90-minute window. The backup arrived just in time, but the stress had triggered Emma's postpartum anxiety. She couldn't sleep, kept checking Sophie's oxygen levels every 5 minutes, jumping at every sound. "Marcus, we should just move," she said through tears that night. "I can't do this. I can't watch that woman walk past our house every day, knowing she almost killed our baby." That's when I made my decision. Patricia Vandermeer wanted to play power games. Fine, but she'd picked the wrong person to intimidate. I kissed Emma's forehead, "Trust me. Just give me 1 week." What Patricia didn't know was that destroying that incubator was probably the least illegal thing she'd done. And I was about to prove it, real quick. Have you ever dealt with an HOA nightmare? Drop your craziest story in the comments. And if you're enjoying this, hit that subscribe button, because the investigation I'm about to show you gets absolutely wild. Now back to how I took down the HOA president. Monday morning, I made 2 calls. First, to my supervisor at the Phoenix FBI field office. I need to look into something personal. Might be nothing, but my gut's screaming at me. Agent Sarah Winters knew me well enough not to ask questions. "What do you need?" "Access to financial databases. Standard background check protocols. Completely off book until I know if there's a case. You've got 48 hours of my plausible deniability. After that, it better be legitimate." Second call was to Marcus Huang, an old friend from the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. "Mark, I need you to run someone's financials. Quiet like. Who we looking at?" "HOA President Patricia Vandermeer, Phoenix area." He whistled low. "What did she do to you?" "Let's just say she made it personal. Can you do it?" "Give me 24 hours. Now here's where my FBI experience kicked in. 15 years investigating white-collar crime teaches you one thing. People who abuse power in small ways usually abuse it in big ways too. Someone willing to endanger a child over HOA rules. That person's got skeletons. I started with the public records. Patricia had been HOA president for 8 years. The neighborhood had 247 homes. Annual dues were $3,200 per household. That's roughly $790,000 in annual revenue. The HOA covenant said those funds went to landscaping, security, community pool maintenance, and reserve funds. But here's what caught my attention. 4 years ago, the HOA voted to assess a special levy, additional $5,000 per household for emergency infrastructure repairs. That's another $1.2 million. I pulled the public meeting minutes. Patricia had rammed that vote through with exactly 1 more vote than required. Several homeowners had complained the vote was conducted improperly, but nothing came of it. I knocked on doors, talked to neighbors like I was just the new guy trying to understand HOA politics. Started with the elderly couple across the street, the Hendersons. Mrs. Henderson's face darkened when I mentioned Patricia. That woman is a tyrant. When Harold had his hip replacement 2 years ago, we fell behind on dues by 1 month. 1 month, she put a lien on our house. Threatened to foreclose. For 1 month late, the bylaws technically allowed it. Her husband's law firm handled the paperwork. Cost us $3,000 in legal fees just to clear it up. By Tuesday afternoon, I'd talked to 15 households. Same story everywhere. Patricia used the HOA as her personal fiefdom, fines for minor violations, threats of legal action, selective enforcement of rules, depending on who you were. But something else kept coming up. A landscaping company called Verdant Solutions, LLC. And that's when things got interesting. Marcus Huang called me Wednesday morning. "Dude, you hit the jackpot. Where'd you find this lady? What have you got?" Patricia Vandermeer, age 58. Joint accounts with husband Gregory Vandermeer, attorney, and here's the fun part. She's also listed as managing member of Verdant Solutions, LLC. Guess who the HOA pays $180,000 annually for landscaping services? My pulse quickened. Her own company gets better. That special assessment 4 years ago, the one that raised $1.2 million. According to the HOA's publicly filed tax returns, $750,000 went to Verdant Solutions for emergency landscape restoration after severe weather damage. I checked the weather records for Phoenix that year. No severe weather events. Not even a strong thunderstorm. So she fabricated an emergency, forced homeowners to pay a special assessment, then funneled $750,000 to her own company. Embezzlement. Fraud, probably racketeering, if you can prove pattern. And Marcus, it gets even better. Verdant Solutions. Ghost company. Business license LLC. Registration, everything looks legit. On paper, but no physical office. No employee records filed with the state. No actual landscaping work. I can trace, the money goes in, and then it disappears into offshore accounts. This was it. This was the case. How much are we talking total? Over 4 years. I'm seeing roughly $1.4 million in HOA payments to Verdant Solutions. Add in the special assessment money, and Patricia's probably stolen close to $2 million from your neighborhood. I thanked Marcus and hung up. Then I called Agent Winters. "Sarah, remember that personal matter? It's not personal anymore. I've got evidence of wire fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. Multi-year scheme, at least $2 million. Are you absolutely sure? I've got financial records, victim statements, and paper trail. I need a warrant and full investigative team." There was a pause. "I'll call the U.S. attorney. If this is as solid as you say, we move on Friday." Friday, 2 days away. 2 days. To make sure Patricia Vandermeer couldn't destroy evidence or disappear funds. 2 days to build an airtight case. But first, I had to make sure she stayed exactly where she was. Y'all seeing where this is going? Drop a getter in the comments if you're ready to see justice served. This next part is gonna blow your mind. Make sure you're subscribed because you're not gonna want to miss the confrontation. Thursday morning, I showed up at the monthly HOA meeting. Patricia sat at the head table like a queen holding court. About 30 homeowners scattered around the community center. She spotted me immediately, and that smug smile returned. "Mr. Chen, how, unexpected. Do you have business before the board?" "Actually, I do." I stood up, calm as anything. FBI poker face in full effect. "I wanted to personally thank you for your dedicated service to this community." That threw her eyebrows raised. "Oh, 8 years as president. That's remarkable commitment. Must be a lot of responsibility managing all that money. Well, someone has to ensure proper fiscal stewardship." She was preening now, loving the attention. "Absolutely. Out of curiosity, could you tell us more about Verdant Solutions, the landscaping company the HOA uses? I'm new, trying to understand how our dues are spent." The temperature in the room dropped 5 degrees. Patricia's smile froze. Verdant Solutions is a long-standing contractor. Fully vetted, fully qualified, I'm sure. And the special assessment from 4 years ago. The $1.2 million for emergency landscape restoration. Could you show us some before and after photos? I'd love to see what that money accomplished. Now people were paying attention. Mrs. Henderson leaned forward. A younger guy in the back, later learned his name was David, pulled out his phone and started recording. Patricia's face flushed red. "Mr. Chen, if you have specific concerns, you can file them in writing with the board. This meeting has an agenda. I'm just asking questions. As a dues-paying member of this HOA, I have that right, don't I? It's in Section 22 of the bylaws. Full transparency regarding financial expenditures." She stood up abruptly. "This meeting is adjourned." "Actually," Mrs. Henderson's voice rang out, "according to the bylaws, you can't adjourn without a board vote. I move that we discuss the HOA's financial relationship with Verdant Solutions." "I second that motion," David called from the back. Patricia looked like she'd been slapped. "You people don't understand the complexity of— Show us the receipts, Patricia." My voice was quiet, but it carried. "Show us the work orders. Show us the invoices. Show us exactly where our money went." Friday morning, 6:47 a.m. I was in the nursery with Sophie when 6 FBI vehicles rolled onto Riverside Estates. Agent Winters led the team, along with 2 agents from financial crimes and 4 from evidence response. I'd briefed them Thursday night, shown them everything I'd gathered. The U.S. attorney had issued warrants for Patricia's home, her husband's law office, and seizure orders for all financial accounts tied to Verdant Solutions LLC. I didn't participate in the arrest. Conflict of interest. But I watched from my front lawn as they knocked on Patricia's door at 7:02 a.m. She answered in a silk robe, coffee cup in hand. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw her face when Agent Winters showed her the badge. The coffee cup dropped, shattered on the doorstep. That smug smile was gone forever. They were inside for 6 hours. Came out with 12 boxes of documents, 4 computers, and Patricia in handcuffs. As they led her past my house to the waiting vehicle, she saw me standing there with Sophie in my arms. Our eyes met, recognition, horror, the moment she realized exactly who she'd crossed. "You," she breathed, "you're FBI." "Yeah," I adjusted Sophie's blanket. "Special Agent Marcus Chen, White Collar Crime Division. You really shouldn't have broken my daughter's incubator. Patricia, I wasn't looking into you at all, but you just had to make it personal." Her lawyer husband came running out, shouting about illegal searches and harassment. Agent Winters calmly handed him the warrant. "Mr. Vandermeer, you're welcome to accompany your wife to the federal building. You might want to bring your own attorney." The whole neighborhood was watching now. Front doors open, people in their yards. Mrs. Henderson was crying happy tears. David was still recording on his phone. Patricia started screaming as they put her in the vehicle. "This is harassment, police brutality. I'm the victim here." Agent Winters shut the door on her protests. But that was just the arrest. What we found in those documents, that's when the case went from simple embezzlement to something much, much bigger. The forensic accountants spent 3 weeks tearing apart Patricia's financial empire. An empire isn't an exaggeration. Verdant Solutions was just the tip of the iceberg. She'd created 4 shell companies, all doing business with the HOA security services that never materialized. Pool maintenance by a company with no employees. Legal consulting from her husband's firm at $400 per hour for basic administrative tasks. But here's what shocked even me. Patricia had been doing this for 8 years, across 3 different HOAs. She'd been president of 2 others before Riverside Estates. Same playbook every time. Force through special assessments, funnel money to her companies, move to a new neighborhood before anyone caught on. Total theft. Just over $4.8 million. The U.S. attorney charged her with wire fraud 22 counts, money laundering 18 counts, racketeering RICO charges, tax evasion. She hadn't reported the stolen money as income. Her husband faced charges to ED, helped create the shell companies, and had signed off on the fraudulent contracts. Turns out, being the best attorney in 3 counties. Doesn't help when you're complicit in a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. The HOA held an emergency meeting. They voted unanimously to dissolve the board and elect new leadership. Mrs. Henderson became interim president. First order of business: apologizing to every homeowner Patricia had terrorized. The trial was 8 months later. I testified, along with Marcus Huang and 15 homeowners. The prosecution presented 847 pages of financial records showing the money trail from HOA accounts to shell companies to offshore banks. Patricia's defense tried to claim she was just managing investments and that the landscaping work had been done, just not documented properly. The jury didn't buy it. Took them 4 hours to convict on all counts. The judge, a 60-year-old woman named Maria Santos, did not hold back during sentencing. Mrs. Vandermeer, you exploited your position of trust to steal from working families, retirees, and young parents. You created fake emergencies to justify assessments that put financial strain on households living paycheck to paycheck. And when confronted, you showed not remorse but arrogance. You endangered the life of an infant to protect your scheme. Patricia tried to interrupt. The judge cut her off. I'm sentencing you to 12 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised release. You'll pay full restitution of $4.8 million to the victims, plus penalties and interest. Your husband received 6 years for his role in facilitating this fraud. Patricia broke down, sobbing. Her lawyer filed an appeal. It was denied. The seized assets, 3 properties, luxury vehicles, jewelry, bank accounts, were liquidated. Every homeowner who'd been defrauded got their money back with interest. Mrs. Henderson personally delivered our check. $11,400, all the special assessments and bogus fines Patricia had charged us. Buy something nice for Sophie, she said, tears in her eyes. That little girl saved this whole neighborhood. If Patricia hadn't gone after you, we might never have known. But the best part? The new HOA voted to name the community playground after Sophie, Sophie's Garden. It opened last month with new equipment, accessible features, and a plaque that reads, "In honor of Sophie Chen, whose courage inspired justice for an entire community." My daughter's 3 months old, and she already has a playground named after her. Not bad for someone who weighs 9 pounds. If you made it this far, drop a 12 years in the comments. And seriously, hit that subscribe button, because I've got more stories about entitled people who learned the hard way not to mess with the wrong person. Share this with anyone who's ever dealt with an HOA nightmare. Here's what I learned from all this. People like Patricia exist because they count on others being too tired, too scared, or too intimidated to fight back. She'd terrorized 3 neighborhoods for 8 years because no one had the resources or knowledge to stop her. I had advantages. Most people don't. FBI training, access to investigative resources, knowledge of financial crimes. But honestly, any good attorney and a determined group of homeowners could have uncovered the same evidence. The public records were all there. The victims were everywhere. People just needed someone to take the first step. Emma asked me last week if I regret how it all went down. If I should have just moved, like she suggested. I looked at Sophie, sleeping in her crib, breathing easily now, gaining weight, hitting all her milestones. Then I thought about Mrs. Henderson, who doesn't wake up terrified of losing her home anymore. About David and his young family, who got back money they desperately needed. About an entire community that learned they didn't have to accept abuse from people in power. No, I told Emma, I don't regret a damn thing. So that's my story about the HOA Karen who broke my daughter's incubator and ended up in federal prison. If this taught you anything, let it be this. Document everything, know your rights, and never let bullies win just because they're loud. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories about entitled people getting exactly what they deserve. And drop a comment with your own HOA horror story. Who knows? Maybe your story will help someone else stand up to their neighborhood tyrant. Thanks for watching. I'm Marcus Chen. And remember, sometimes karma wears a badge. Oh, and Patricia, if you're watching this, from whatever minimum security facility they've got you in, thanks for breaking that incubator. Best thing you ever did for this neighborhood. Sophie's doing great, by the way. Walking now, first word was mama. Second word was badge. Check out these other videos where entitled people learned very expensive lessons. See you in the next one.